it just seems like the people that we play, everybody's got that X receiver that's just the guy. It just seems like every time somebody is trying to spread you out and trying to throw the 7-yard hitch or the over the top post, and so I found that through our cut ups and season breakdown analysis that said, man, we have treated that X receiver a whole bunch of different ways. And on the flip side of that, we said, wow, we've played trips a whole lot of different ways. And thus it kind of it formed itself, and that was, and obviously like I've talked about, we're 3-4, and everybody's favorite formation is that trip split, to kind of get that jack outside linebacker caught in space a little bit in the middle of the field. And so that's where we kind of had to evolve and come up with ways to still have an idea of get that jack. He's in space, but at the same time, he's that fourth rusher, and we can cover him up, whether by the corner of the free safety, whether invert half or Tampa over the top, And so that's kind of, again, like where it's formed and where it's morphed to of everybody picks on that space guy, and everybody runs that two-man snag look to the, if it's 3-by-1 minus, that the back shooting weak and you're running curl or dig or whatever and reading that jack overhang, and we said, well, we don't want one-on-one with the corner, so how do we double and take that X away? And so, like I talked about on the YouTube link the other day, it's given us the ability to at times take the X out of the game. So it's been good to us.
Coach, when you guys sit down and you look at all your 3-by-1 adjustments, because obviously, I mean, you probably, like most people I've seen, you're having a 2-by-2 call and then you go to a 3-by-1 adjust, obviously, when they come out. Is that something you guys do series by series? Do you have a certain check, or do you go into a game and it's like all the time we're going to play this? Because you said you have a multitude of those. I know when I was at Tulsa and I kind of self-scouted our defense a couple times, I mean, they literally, at one point, I think they had like 18 to 20 different checks.
Sure.
So I'm like, yeah, you guys don't have a lot of tendencies there. But, I mean, I kind of want to go into your mindset as to how do you know what to carry and how often are you switching that up?
Right. And to start, to be honest, I'm blessed with brilliant kids. We have some extremely high ACT scores at Norman North, and we can do a lot of things schematically because our kids are – number one, football is important, but number two, they are very bright. And so when it comes to a game, and we'll spin a little bit of cover 3 and we'll play some Tampa, but when it comes to a game, we have found that we have 13 variations of playing 3-by-1 out of a too high shell look. And I'm talking too high quarters look, and obviously we'll have cover 3 sky stuff, but we have found 13 different variations where we can play 3-by-1. And some of those we're bracketing the X, or some of those we're bracketing the number 3 guy. And so, again, because we've got smart kids, we have found numerous variations of 3-by-1, and we double call everything. And, I heard him speak, and he's kind of a mentor of mine, Adam Gaylor. When I learned it from him at Broken Arrow, we double called everything, so the OC offense wasn't going to get us caught by just one front and one coverage based on 2-by-2 or 3-by-1.
Yep.
And so when we do this, I don't ever want to feel tied down that the OC is going to control us, whether he's 2-by-2 or 3-by-1, or motion from 2-by-2 to 3-by-1, or vice versa. So with what we've created in our verbiage and our word families, it's allowed us to be multiple to 2-by-2 to 3-by-1, where it's 10 personnel or 11 personnel, doubles or tray or trips open or whatever. So the variations that we've had have been kind of fun. Thus, like you talked about, here comes the Glazier Clinic video, So and the guy saying, "Man, you do all that stuff." I said, number one, we've got smart kids, and that makes the world go around. But number two, it's every week of, God, how do we not make that X put highlight tape of us? And sometimes we luck out and sometimes we don't, just like every Friday night. But again, the variations we've had have given us some success and given, like you said, some Glazier Clinic tape.
I think too. I mean, when you're teaching, I mean, people hear 13 different things, and they're like, "Why in the hell would you need 13 of those?" I mean, the way that you're able to break it up, either by boundary corner, boundary safety, your field guys, the same personnel, you're only teaching them a number of concepts because you guys are running a bunch of split coverages. It's like you say, well, we'll play invert to the boundary, but we're playing lock to the field, or we're playing this. So, I mean, honestly, those guys are just learning basic concepts. Here's how we play invert half. Here's how we play Tampa half. Here's how we play this. And I mean, you're able to just kind of mix and match those things because you're able to compartmentalize it and break it up to teach it. Correct?
Correct. And that's where we found that we've been able to marry the eyes, the footwork, the technique to saying, okay, safety, when you invert to that X receiver, it's just like we're playing cover 3 weak.
Yep.
So I coach our secondary, and I've coached secondary for a long time. So you're marrying up concepts. You're not having to say, well, on this one you do this, and on this one you do that. So like you talk about lock, when we invert, I'm just telling the free safety, hey bud, it's weak cover 3. Mm-hmm. You're the hook curl flat player, right? And you teach corner, say, hey, you know how I tell you to play quarters and don't get beat deep? Yes, sir. Well, don't get beat deep, right? So the variations in the marriage that we've had, the 2x2 and 3x1, that's been awesome. And like I said, we've got 13 2-read, palms, quarters variations. But on a Friday night, we'll take anywhere from 18 to 20 coverages. Now, again, that's including cover 1 or spin 3 strong or spin 3 weak or Tampa. We're going to take 18 to 20, and especially when you're playing the guys we play, you can't stay in one front and one coverage and say, okay, I hope for the best. I really think you got to be multiple. I really think you got to coach and coach and coach and study and study and study. Because I don't get big into the guys say, well, we're going to get in one front and one coverage, and we're going to get really good at that. We're going to bring one strong and one weak blitz, and we're going to get really good at that. I don't think in this day and age of football you can do that anymore. I'm playing you guys at when Walls, you're at Jinx, and Rowdy, you're at Broken Arrow. We were in bear one snap. We were in over one snap. We were in eagle one snap. We were in Okie one snap. You've got to be multiple in your fronts and your coverages, and that's the fun part of how do you marry all those up. And so, again, it goes back to having smart kids, but it also goes back to, man, what are you studying in the off season? What are you learning? What are you teaching? What are you saying? Okay, we did this pretty well. But on the flip side, we didn't do that. What's your postseason analysis? What's your breakdown? When everything's done, are you just saying, oh, well, they ran inside zone on us really well, the end? Or are you saying, well, the reason they did it was because of our technique, or the reason they found the X is because we didn't have the 3x1 coverage one this time? So with the variations also comes the postseason breakdown of what are you studying in the offseason? And I think that's important to study and teach and make teach tapes and cut ups, say, hey, this is how we do it. Hey, great job right here. And it gives the kids a sense of, coach trusts us. We're taking the coaching. We're applying it to drill work. We're applying it to the field. And again, it allows the OC to go, man, what are they doing? It looks too high shell, but all of a sudden they're spinning 3 strong. They're spinning 3 weak. They're doubling my X, So I think you got to be multiple in this day and age, and that's what the 3x1s have done for us.
I was going to ask you about Pat Tillman, just because, honestly, when all the stuff went down, and I watched the funeral live, and literally it's one of the few times I've cried as a man, just because, the stuff that he stood for, he made you really, really sit there and consider, what am I doing with my life? And the impact I think he had on so many people. And for him, he would say, I'm sure, hey, I was just doing the right thing. But I think for me, he honestly would be one of my top 5 heroes, and I never met the guy. So I've always kind of been interested, I guess, to be able to ask you, what was he like? What were some of the things you remember about that guy? Because I tell you what, he had a tremendous impact on my life.
He had a tremendous impact on mine. Much like Jake, the thing that was great about Pat was he was more than just a football guy. He graduated in 3.5 years. When we would travel for away games, he would have he had this big book of quotes that he would read through. He was incredibly well read. But at the same time, like when you hung out with him, he was just one of the guys. He was, he would, like us, swear all the time and, just be a dude, right? Be a 18, 19, 20-year-old guy. But the relentlessness that he went after what he wanted was something that I was just like, I've never seen anything like that before. He had things he wanted to accomplish. And when he set his mind to something, that's what he was going to do. And I think the greatest thing about Pat, yes, his courage, yes, his willingness to help others, but he never made you feel that you had to be like him, right? Be the best version of yourself, whatever that is. You don't have to be like me, right? Just be the best version of yourself. It was really hard for me because he passed away in 2004, April 22nd. I was actually married on May 1st. So of that year, I actually didn't get to go to the funeral because I was on my honeymoon. I seriously contemplated not going, but obviously we had already had things booked and whatnot. But I remember exactly where I was when I found out. I was driving to work. I heard it on the radio and I was just stunned, and even to this day, there are certain things, certain military things that I see that I'll break down and cry because, it's for me, I lost a friend, somebody that meant a lot to me, just that friendship. I mean, to this day in my phone, I have his phone number, I won't ever get rid of it just because I just can't, I refuse to do that. And because of the great things he did, I've been, super fortunate to be alongside of him for some of the things that have taken place at Arizona State. So, and I don't talk about this a lot because I think you guys would agree as offensive linemen, we don't necessarily talk about ourselves. That's just kind of how it is.
Right.
But my Twitter avatar is actually a picture of our captain's pick from 1997 that's now forever on the new football facility. So that's the wall leading to the field. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And look, they put it there obviously because of Pat's front and center, and rightfully so. I just feel, incredibly honored to be alongside him with that group of men that are in the picture, but, to be in perpetuity on the wall at the college I played at, it's pretty cool, and again, it's not for as great, again, for as awesome as a person as he was, he didn't, he was intelligent, but a lot of guys on that team were intelligent, and it was just great we could talk football, and we would, but we could talk about a bunch of different things, with each other. And it was just, just an open space to have, great conversations and riff on each other and give each other a hard time. But I mean, his mentality was, hey, I got things I want to accomplish. This is how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to go and achieve it. In fact, when he first came into Arizona State, which was 94, so my second year, there was a discussion about him redshirting. And he had talked to our head coach, Bruce Snyder, and was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
I remember that story. I do.
Yeah. I got a plan. I want to be done in 4 years. So I'm not really that interested in redshirting. And he was put on special teams and, and started making plays from there. I think what's super impressive about Pat is if you went back and watched film of him when he played. So not only, he was the Pac-10, now Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year in 97. He was also 96, 97, one of our leaders in special teams tackles.